Welcome to Podcast This Escape, the podcast where we talk about the escape room that we escaped from in the previous episode of this podcast. Rueben, Julian, congratulations, you did it!
Yes, we did it. I feel good about that. I feel good.
That was very good fun, mate. Well done.
You're a strong team. You were very efficient. I was worried about how efficiently you were making your way through things at the start. That's why I didn't want to help you.
There were 4 items in a room. It's not like, welcome, you've walked into the Library of Babylon. There are 16 million exhibition items.
This is why I described it as approachable.
It was a boring hotel room. Yep.
Can I say the realism? It felt real. I've stayed. How many times, Ruben, have you stayed in that hotel room?
Many times.
Dozens of times.
And with the Wallabies next door.
Always.
I debated not even giving a room description and just saying, you get it, just tell me what you want to look at.
Just tell me it's just a hotel room. And look, I know anyone listening, you're not Australian, you always ask like, oh, do you ride a kangaroo to school? No, we don't. But all of our hotel rooms do have a bevy of wallabies next door. That's just how it goes down here.
And I believe, for your American listeners, a kettle is a foreign item as well.
That's also true. That's what they're really shocked
We're
about.
talking about that just today.
Yeah.
Because our kettle's broken, so we've had to resort to stove tea.
Ruben, hypothetical dilemma. If you went to this hotel room, would you have eaten the chocolates?
Ooh, I think so. I
reckon I would have as well. I reckon.
It was very interesting to see you start because, like, I remember I did the playtest for this room sort of recently, and I was like, why don't I be goal focused? I'll be kind of end point oriented. I'm going to start by going to the door and getting a note and then trying to decipher the note and doing all this sort of stuff. Whereas for you guys, it was the opposite. And for the first like 25 minutes of you walking around the room, just like,
Checks
there's
out.
no
Hotel
puzzles
room.
here. There's nothing. I'm just in a room. How did that feel as an experience? Yeah.
Oh, the realism, my friend. The realism. That's what I do in every hotel room. It feels real.
Very immersive.
And then we finally found a puzzle and thought we did exactly the right thing to solve it and got nothing.
That was heartbreaking.
Oh, nice. Good work, fools. Although I will say it's so interesting when you've done them already because I'm sitting here hearing you guys go, okay, so I need to add half full.
You even used the words half and full.
Half and full. I've got no idea. I'm sitting there going, it's the flush.
Because the chocolates don't say the word full on them, but you immediately subconsciously.
Gap, not the next step. Yep.
Halves and full. Although you also fell in at first to the trap. I think you and me, Ruben, fell into the same trap, being like, where's the equal sign go? It's got to end up equaling the last one. How does this? And Julian, you were quite good at being like, wait a minute, let me just offset these slightly. That took me a very long time.
18 minutes before I thought, these guys have forgot to put a puzzle in here. They just forgot. Like, we all make mistakes. We all design a room, great room.
The room itself. Wonderful.
And I was when we looked out the window and saw the car park, I was expecting that classic, the numbers are upside down and you're trying to work out what the sequence is, that puzzle, but it was actually a more tricky puzzle.
I'm not going to lie, Ruben, when you said look out the window, it did happen reasonably early. There's a chance I would have forgotten to do that for a long time. Like, genuinely, just see that window? Look at it. Yeah, no, I'm not joking. Yep.
I get it.
When you said it, I'm like, that's a good idea.
Ruben clearly knows his way around this, and I'm sorry we couldn't reward you with more things on the backs of doors. But you were very keyed into check the back of the door, look out the window. Nothing is there unless it deserves some kind of perusal.
If you hadn't looked at the doors, you would have never known what chain was a magnet.
That's true.
I was also waiting for a character whose name started with M, so I'd know they were the murderer.
Yeah, that's also true.
Currently, in this Solve This Murder that we're currently recording, the victim's name is Victoria.
Oh, I was so happy when I found that.
It's really nice.
I will say I was impressed with the way you two tackled what I would call like the major puzzle of the room, of the reoriented letters on that. I got so caught up for so long on cha in. I was like, in is a doesn't make any sense. And the fact that you two sort of allowed yourself to move on and then get enough context to solve that, I did not. I got very much stuck on in is a, and I was freaking out.
To be fair to Bill, there was a typo in it when he looked at
actually,
it.
that did make it a bit hard for me.
That ruined it a little bit.
When there were 2 T's and 1 A at the end.
There was an I instead of a second A.
And so that
was a
very
problem.
much broke me a little. But just in general, you smashed that.
Once we got magnet, it was like, okay, that's clearly the word. What is left other than the and in and...
Yeah, it worked out really well.
That was fantastic.
You followed that path perfect. It was great to listen to.
Speaking of following on from that, the good escape room instinct of, I've got a long magnet chain, let's go dipping.
Yeah, he didn't get caught up on anything else to magnet.
Drip, drip, dripping down the drain.
Yeah, magnets can go in a lot of places, but no, we went straight to it. That was unnecessarily fast. Well done. Yeah.
The bathtub was not working for a good reason because there's something down there. Yeah. And the piece of paper, the crime TV show telling us about that was very good.
Yes, that was another one that it was kind of taking a while, and we were sort of like, I think we trust them. I don't think we need to hint. We don't need to be like, maybe look more. And it was really nice that eventually went, wait a minute, we never watched this show. Let's look at this final thing.
Well, I like that us having a break in reality and the game was the same thing. Let's just have a cup of tea and watch the show. And that's what we needed to do.
It solved the whole
thing.
I
will leave it to you how much of the note was made up of wallaby urine.
Oh, no. I assume now. I would like to say, when we do escape rooms, there's a lot of like the suspension of disbelief as to why the puzzles are there. And I think for this room, part of me was like, there's got to be some super shady deal going on because he's clearly like left clues for anybody who he's like half the number that'll get you into the safe, friends, and all these like little. And I was really expecting something incredibly shady.
He
in the other
knew
room.
he couldn't handle this operation on his own, and he'd need to bring someone in at some point.
He wanted somebody else.
He just thought it would be a fellow staff member.
Well, with escape rooms, I really do like when they are the size that they would be. Like, when you're escaping a prison room and there's not much in there because there's nothing there. That's what I really liked about this room, that like the things that were there were meant to be there, like it just felt very true to life. I like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to you walk in and there's a thing of numbers and magnets.
Well, the artwork on the wall is 2 Sudokus.
I think when we started, Ruben, you mentioned Curium in Melbourne, which is so big and so it's like you start in one room, you get out of that into another room to get up to stairs to another room to get to another one.
The first room is an office and it has officey stuff.
Yeah. This is in no way.
No, it's not compared to what Julian just said.
But it's very it's this vast and long and expanded. But it is sometimes nice to do these little versions. We've talked about it before, but one of my favorite rooms that we've ever done. Was in Toronto at, do you remember the name of the place? Phased and Confused.
That was the room's name, yeah.
And you're in a very small room, I think smaller than this like spare bedroom that we are recording this podcast in, and you're just in a teenager's bedroom in 1975, and you need to find the keys that someone hid so you can get to the car and get out to a party. And there was barely enough space to like walk around. It was like, I'm just turning.
It was pretty much, you could largely, just turn around and you'd be looking at one thing, turn around one step and you'd be at the other side of the room messing with the stuff there. But it felt real. And because the room had such good flow, you never felt cramped.
It felt like you were moving and traveling and doing, it was a really, really well designed. So it is nice, but it had that extra thing of like, that's the space you get. It's a bedroom. Like it's the sides of a bedroom. Sorry, that's the whole thing. And it is nice. It is nice to have that.
And I do enjoy when there's the big bit of information that it's all there, but you can't actually use it until you know what to look for. And we struggled a bit to work out it was the car rental place, but
yes, that was interesting. Danny, I wondered if you would give it to them when they said, can we flick through and see if these symbols appear anywhere? I thought maybe that was going to be enough for you, but you wanted like the specifics. I thought that you
could get it one step further. And it's one of those things where it feels like, how much of a puzzle is this? And they're cars. So you look for cars. It's just it's that level of puzzle, which is interesting and how both easy and hard it could end up being.
Yeah, and definitely relates to the local area. Like it's what
exactly. Thank you.
So it all felt natural. It's not forced.
There's a thing with that which happens a few times it happens a lot, I think, in rooms that you've designed, which I've never really thought about until now. It's almost like it's like a magic word puzzle. Like it's like everyone knows we're all looking for this. They kind of know where, and you will have these moments of waiting and be like, I'm going to wait till you say this. I'm looking for this word. I want this exact input from you.
80s text parsing.
Yeah, when you're trying to figure out
to these.
And I think from my end when I'm listening, I always think to myself, they're never going to get it. They're never going to like. I don't like. Surely Danny has to give it to them. Like you got, and I almost step in. I almost come in and hint every time, and Danny will just be like, no, they'll get it. They'll get it. And you're always right, and they always do. And you guys did. You were like, and I think you felt good. I think. Hopefully you felt good when you finally got it. It felt like you'd achieved something.
There was another point in the room like that, again with the letter swapping puzzle, where you specifically said, all right, so we've got and then we've got the next word is a 3-letter word. And I turned to Billy and said, I wonder if we're going to have to tell them. Because it wasn't. It was a 5-letter word that carried on to the next line.
You smashed it.
Didn't need to tell you. That was great.
Yeah, I will. I want to actually rearrange that letter thing to actually get the final result. But and then the whole TV thing with the clicking on the local amended areas and getting extra things like just that, the weirdness of the sample text here, I loved because it's like.
Okay, that was one of the things that changed. So in my initial notes as I was drawing up the room, that was basically how I had written it, that they hadn't quite finished, that it was clearly not fully done. But then I waited a while before designing the picture because, as you can see, how much work it was and how the upscale art programs that I used to create them. But I waited a number of days and I had forgotten my plan. So initially, all of the dot points were actual things like local area, amenities, security, and all the way down to like further information at the bottom. And that's how it was during the playtest. And Billy was going through it trying to say, okay, like half. So maybe like half of the letters that are written there, and got a bit too involved with that.
Yeah, I'd seen the chocolates. Then I saw that there were 6 things, and I was like, okay, I've got a half chocolate, I've got a word, it's got like an even number of, so I'll take like the left half of that word, and then I'll take the whole word of this, and I'll add those letters to these. And so we sort of went, no, we don't. And then when the words weren't relevant in the end, I almost felt I was like, no, but I'd built a puzzle in my head. I want to solve that puzzle that I've made. So I think, getting it to so like sample text is such a good way of being like, well, surely this can't be that relevant. There must be something else going on. It's literally sample text that leads to sample text. Although I think originally the wording for sample text was slightly different. I freaked out because when you remade it.
Yeah, I'd still written like more information or something.
Oh, no, I think you said insert text here.
Oh, insert text.
And then I went,
here.
no, but what if they're going to then try and insert text there? They'll be like, well, we have to find our own text and we have to insert the text here.
Too much like an instruction, apparently.
So it took a little bit of finagling, but I don't know if that would have been an issue.
The other thing that changed, the biggest part that changed, was the location of the final key, because the place that I had it originally, Billy immediately found it without any prompting. And I went, yeah, that's fine, but I clearly don't want that to happen, so we've got to gate it harder, or, my preference, make it something you're less likely to go around smashing just for the hell of it.
What did you smash, Billy? What did you smash?
Originally, I went to the sink, and I was like, sink works, the water's on, and there's just a bar of soap on the sink. And I went, is there a key in that soap? Danny went, well, yes, but I don't want you to know that. But it was immediately, I was just like, bar of soap,
we
gotta
could
be a key
work
in
with
it.
the gamble of maybe you guys wouldn't smash some soap, but I didn't like those odds.
So we kind of went, what's something we were thinking of like having it in the plate, and the plate like splits down the middle and it's hollowed out in the middle. But something that even if you said, oh, what if I smash it? We could kind of be like, really? Gonna just smash that? No,
well, no, you've used the teacup. You have needed that tea before,
you
so you're not
cup
going to
tea.
smash that. It's helped you.
It was.
But I think that speaks to the realism of the room. Like if you walk into a room, there will be one cup, there will be a knife, there will be a fork, there will be, it's not an out of place item.
I couldn't have been happier when you called it a table for one and a kettle.
Yeah.
I liked as well knowing that when we realized we didn't have to stay in the room, we could actually just, like it wasn't actually an escape room. We weren't
you could leave.
locked in there. We were trying to get into a different room.
That's true.
We could just
yeah, if you had tried to go down to the car park without the staff door, I would have had Leonard get all up in your face about not going out. You said that you were just going to go into the room and sleep. Why don't you do that?
I wanted to ask, Ruben, you mentioned early on that when you're talking about your escape room experience that you had designed some escape rooms as well. When you have you designed ones like in this style or
Physical space ones.
physical space? What have you done in
I've
terms
got
of
like
escape
a
room
whole
design?
bunch of locks and combination locks and boxes to
nice.
put them in and all sorts of stuff. And it's actually for a group of friends. We come together every year for a holiday. We all live in different places, and we've been doing that for a few years. And so one of my favorite clues was I took a bunch of photos from the locations we'd been on holidays and some other random photos and put numbers on the back of them. And so they had to actually find all the photos, work out which ones were for places we'd been to, and then put them in the order of when we'd been there to get the number.
Nice.
Like a final challenge on every Amazing Race
Yeah,
season.
that's got big Amazing
is
Race
to do
energy.
that.
I like
That's
that.
always my favorite.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool having it. It could only be for us, that puzzle. So
That's lovely. Yeah, how do you find the designing experience?
awesome. I really enjoyed that and doing it for the kids. And then I've run some of your escape rooms for my kids.
Oh, really?
Oh, nice.
And then my son, when he had all his friends over, he ran the one that we'd done together
Aw.
for his friends.
Nice.
So absolutely love it.
I hope they were good ones.
And I'm not telling him that this is his favorite podcast. I'm not telling him that I'm on.
Aw.
And
nice.
he's going to download and go,
hilarious.
what?
Should we put your name first or last so that you might not see it before pressing play?
No. The secret prank I'll do is I'll just cut it so it's all Julian. None of you. I'll just sorry, you didn't make it in. It was a harsh edit.
I don't think there's going to be a crazy amount to edit with this one. It was very
beautifully
smooth.
room. You guys smashed it. It was
Ruben, well
elegantly
done.
smooth
There was
the whole time.
there's a couple of things that when you said them out of your mouth, I'm like, thank you. I'm glad that came out because it was a long way from my brain. Yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah,
that we
well
got a Dodoy in there.
I think the two of you were a really good team for this. I
You
think
you worked well together.
I think every
I felt
moment.
that.
Yeah, I think every moment one of you got stuck, the other person had the answer. Or anytime one of you was going off on the wrong, like I could feel you leaving and going on your own tangent of where this info. The other one went, wait a minute, what about this clue? Oh, right, good point. It was a great back and forth. I think the two of you worked very well.
Yeah, and it's always the key to like any escape room is you've got to just talk through what you think is going on, and the way you describe it might then spark something in someone else's mind as well. So
Yes.
I'm just trying to think of the rogue paths I would have taken. I reckon I would have solved this puzzle that says the char in is a magnet. And I've been char's another word for tea. We get the tea bag. There's definitely in the char. It's a magnet.
That's
Yeah,
all
I
tea
would've-
bags are, microplastics and magnets.
I was going to say that would have been 10 minutes that I would have spent on that before I worked out what char in is.
That's also the beautiful thing about this, about having a game master there to, when you start going way too far, to be like, hey, really? Maybe take a second. Just take a breath. Come back, and let's start again. So because it's one of those things that in other contexts, like you can just like we were working last year on a video game we were writing and developing for Rise of the Golden Idol, which was a huge amount of fun, but the play testing was such a different experience because it really is so much more. I have to take my hands off the wheel. We have to just watch you misconstrue stuff, and there's no way to address that in the moment. We just have to really stop anything being misconstrued, and it was so much more of a getting really into the minutia. Whereas this is so much easier to just be like, we'll just play it by ear.
Yeah.
and
You want to do something irrational, I get to say no.
yeah, we'll just tweak it as we go, and so it's such a different experience after having done a while of just that kind of intense playtesting. It's kind of relaxing sometimes.
It also was a lot more, you'd have to have creative oversight, so your ridiculous ideas like a room full of wallabies probably wouldn't have made the final cut.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, you can just fill a room with wallabies.
free reign. Yeah, I definitely noticed, there were, especially on the chain as a magnet one, just the kind of the sense that you were encouraging us to keep going was very reassuring to know we weren't completely off track, but you weren't telling us what to do, but it was just that sense that
And
we're at least onto something.
At that point, you'd tried flushing the toilet, you'd tried putting 360 into the safe, and those were correct instincts. You had connected things correctly. You were doing it all right. I really didn't want to just give off the feel of, no, you're doing it wrong, because you weren't.
There's also you talk. There's a lot about like when you're doing puzzles, you want to get good feedback, and you want to design systems for feedback and to allow people. And the added feedback system in this show is when Danny goes, that's interesting.
When I stroke my chin, I do that a lot now.
Positive feedback that comes back when you start messing with something. You go, oh yeah, that's an interesting thought. It works quite well. Oh well, look, it was very lovely, Danny. When you were making this, did you have any sort of like? It is an odd thought, like. I'm gonna have a hotel room. I'm gonna stick some wallabies next door. What was the? Did you go wallaby forward, or was it?
My notebook where I wrote this room is in the other room. Can I quickly grab it to see if I have anything enlightening on that front?
Please do.
That'd be awesome.
Oh God, that dog is so excited for nothing.
This isn't a true story from your life. This one. This was not a ripped from the holidays kind of.
That's how most of the rooms happen. We'll be like trapped in a dungeon somewhere. We'll be like, I got to write this down.
Yeah. Imagine that, an autobiographical escape room. I like that idea.
All right, let's look at my thought process over the days that I was coming up with an idea. Because I knew I wanted a hotel room, but coming up with what's a story for a hotel room? You're reluctantly allowed to stay in room 221. Overnight, you hear strange noises, ... It's cats! After a recent disaster, families with cats had nowhere to stay, so a staff member secretly let them in. Or a better animal? A native? Wallabies? That's my thought process.
And especially for two other Australians, the wallabies were perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do love the idea of the room that you don't know, there's no way in, like the secret garden kind of concept, that you know there's something there, but there's just no regular way in. It's such a cool notion as well.
Yeah.
I do like how quickly, clearly in my first line, I went, oh, you hear strange noises next door. I wanted this to be a haunted hotel, but I clearly just wasn't in the mood for that. I wanted to hug some animals.
Well, that's good because I don't like the scary escape rooms. I think I've done most of the escape rooms in Melbourne now, apart from the scary ones, because I'm not a big fan of the scary ones. But,
and apparently
there glad this wasn't scary.
Top tier
Rueben,
scary
if you
want
to do it, I'll look after you, mate. We can go in and get scared together.
Are you okay with the scary ones?
I say that now till I'm crying in the corner of an escape room. So I'll say yes in my confident, forward-thinking way.
We once did one in Frankston. My partner Tegan is not a huge escape room person, but she'll come and do them with us occasionally. And we did one in Frankston that was a friend of a friend's who operated it. And so they had gone the extra mile, and we went into a room, did all the stuff that moved into a second room, and then opened a cupboard, and someone walked out of the cupboard.
Excellent.
Which was one of the operators, and she did not like that. Unpleasant. And I'm not normally good with scary stuff, but I just looked at it and said, that's not a clue. I'll just keep going.
Just not fair. We've done an escape room. We've been chased down the hallway by a strange ghost woman. It's an unpleasant feeling.
It's
lovely.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. Horror and jump scares. Jump scares are not my bag. Horror vibes, totally my bag.
I will say that same room. So we did a horror room in Sydney that was lovely, and it was at Mission Escape in Sydney. But we did a horror room. But one of the things I really love, and it's a great example of like people who understand the context in which they are designing something, because it was a horror room, and there was a puzzle like late in this room that in any other escape room would have been a terrible puzzle because it was very repetitive and kind of drawn out and long, right? It was just like, you hear a thing, you do a thing, then the pattern gets a little longer, and I hope you don't forget the pattern, you might have to restart. And in any other room, it would have been like, oh, come on, I just bing, bong, bum, over and over, like. But in this one, because they knew it was a horror room, and they knew they were creating a sense of tension, and they knew that you wanted to get out of that room, and you had to do this, and you would take. It was a fantastic puzzle.
Whatever was coming, you were making it happen.
And you were like,
making this go longer.
I don't want to get this right. It's going, and the tension is building. And it was this great example of like, I would never have thought this puzzle works in an escape room, but knowing that we were doing this thing that was very tense, or it was a really like emotionally engaging puzzle. And I thought it was a really lovely example of what you can do differently in a horror room than you can in a hotel full of wallabies kind of room. And it's just really nice to see that sort of stuff.
No real escape room is brave enough to give you a room full of wallabies.
No, the cowards. Oh, wonderful. Well, I think there was a lot of fun. I enjoyed.
You made
listening
it
to the two of
very
you.
easy. We always tell guests that everyone sounds smarter in the final edit than the base recording. I'm not totally sure if that's going to be true
I think
this
you'll
time.
sound exactly as smart as you were, which was good.
Well, thank you for cutting out me crying for that bit and me
Yes.
like having the sook where I went off for 20 minutes and came back. So thank you for cutting that out.
Yeah, that
Appreciate
breakdown.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Don't you know who I am? I'm Julian O'Shea. I don't have to do puzzles like this. Thank you so much for coming on and playing through this room. Thank you, Danny, for designing such a fun, silly room.
Thank you. Thank you for fixing it when it was broken.
I did a tiny amount of work, but I helped. Ruben, if people want to check out more of you in the world, is there anywhere you want to send people?
No, not necessarily. They can Google and follow along to see what's happening with our treaty process if they Google me and follow my disc golf journey on Instagram at RJXberg. But otherwise, I just want to say thanks so much for having me on. And like your content is awesome across all the different things that you do.
Well, thank you.
My whole family loves it, so keep up the great work.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful. It's great to have you. And then, Julian, if people wanted to check out more of the O'Shea-verse, where would they be able to find that?
My name is Julian O'Shea. Find it on the social network of your choice. And if you find yourself in Melbourne, Australia during March, April, I'm doing a comedy show at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
Oh.
Come on down. It is nerdy and funny.
Yeah, that's coming up quite soon. There will be a link in the show notes for people who want to check that out. If you're in the Melbourne area, go and check out Julian's show.
Or if you're one of our American or otherwhere in the
Fly
world
to
listeners,
Melbourne.
come on, spontaneous holiday.
Just go.
It's a great time of year
It's a lovely time of year.
as far as Melbourne goes.
It's no Sydney trip, but it's okay.
Settle down.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you, Danny. And thank you, everybody at home, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to help support the show, the best thing you can do is tell people. Tell friends, tell enemies, tell everybody. Run the room get a bunch of strangers together and be like, I've got an escape room to run for you. It comes from a very good podcast, and then run them through a room. That's just the best way to grow the show. But word of mouth is always the best way to pick for people to find new things, especially in the podcasting world. You can also support the show on Patreon. We don't run any ads. We don't do anything else. That is how we make money for the show. If you like supporting art and creators, then please do. If you have some extra money and you want to help support the creation of Escape This Podcast and Solve This Murder, there are also plenty of perks. Anybody at any level can appear as an NPC in one of the rooms that Danny designs.
Yeah, so thank you so much to Patreon donor Leonard T for being a kind-hearted wallaby smuggler in this room.
If you hate wallabies in real life, Leonard, I don't want to know about it. There's also bonus episodes every week for our $5 donors. There's monthly video content for the $10 donors. There's trivia for our $20 donors. It's a whole fun world there. So thank you for everybody who supports the show. It's what keeps the lights on and the motor running, the creative motor of Danny's brain. Thank you so much. All right. Bye, everybody.